Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is a positive production of RareGem Productions. For previous episodes or to get new episode updates, subscribe to the Life Fight channel hosted on the Inspiration Network of OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com for the tools you need to take on your life fight. With U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Famer, two-time world champion, five-time U.S. champion, UFC vet, life coach, and author, Jermaine Andre. Visit JermaineAndre.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jermaine Andre's Life Fight. And I'm here again with my co-host, Rebecca Beck.
Hello, everybody.
And we're sitting here, and I remember that when we left, I left everybody with a takeaway, to just one takeaway, to think about being honest with yourself. Because like I say, for me to communicate with anyone, and even for us to communicate properly with each other, we have to be honest with ourselves first, or everything that we push out is a lie. And then here's this other person trying to communicate back with us, and everything we're putting up is a fake, false front. So I think I said for everybody, a good thing to try to do is figure out something that you fear. And because what I'm doing today is we're going to work, and we got my ICE book sitting here, and I even wrote a chapter in ICE about fear and about how you could use fear to empower yourself. But Rebecca,
yes.
What did you figure out as far as your fears?
Oh, man. I have a super duper fear, which is snakes.
Oh, yeah? Why? Why do you fear snakes?
I don't know. I just do. But I will tell you this, that I fear snakes, but somehow I always have dreams about snakes, and they somehow tell me something about my life. So it's a very weird thing. I don't know. Like
when you say they tell you something about your life, like about people in your life, or about...
like every time I have a snake dream, it tells me something about somebody or something that's happening in my life. So I don't know if it's a weird, good thing, or I don't know. So
you're afraid of something that works and helps you out.
It
so
does.
Like,
it's weird.
It exposes the snakes in your life, and you're afraid of it.
It does.
That's your friend.
It does. It's weird. What about you? What's your fear, Jermaine?
Well, let's stay on you right now. But no, this is what's funny. Where I make my point about fear is that like these dreams you have, which I think dreams are so amazing because it's something that no one can influence or control, that we all have. That's like the realest thing we have, because everything we do in our everyday life, you got people trying to tell you this is right, this is wrong, do this, do that. My belief is true and yours isn't. This, if you don't believe this is going to happen. All of this. But when it comes to the dream world, nobody can touch your dreams.
Right.
So, and then we're taught to ignore our dreams. And it's, oh, it was just a dream. That was nothing. But I think our dreams give more messages in reality than anything, which That's a whole nother podcast. I go into learning how to control yourself in your dreams. But in your dreams, this entity or thing or whatever that of representation of snakes comes into your dreams and scares you, and it puts you on guard in life. You wake up on guard. You wake up and you go through your life and you think of people. Yeah. Okay, this person, that person. I just had a snake dream. Now I'm looking and I'm aware and I'm watching out for snakes. So it puts you on your toes. So fear is working to empower you,
right, and
make you strong. You see what I'm saying? So that's pretty cool how that operates.
So
like
back
that.
to you, Jermaine.
What's
your biggest fear in life?
Anyway, so what was the second fear that you had? Like, what was something I feared that would amaze people was like bugs with long legs, spiders. Spiders are a strong fear of mine. Now, this is the thing. I'll tell you a good story too. Just the other day, I went to the school. I was there by myself. There was this big bug on the floor, on the mats. I was getting ready to work out. And he had long legs, and he had a sticker in front, and I don't know if that thing was just for eating flowers or sticking my skin and sucking blood or whatever. But he's on the mat, and I'm like, okay, I can't leave him in here in the school, because I was cool just leaving him alone because the gym big enough for me to go work out somewhere and he could have that spot. But I said, well, I can't leave him in here because we got kids and stuff like that. So I went over to him and started walking toward him. He turned around and faced me. And he started walking towards me. He's walking real super slow. And so I'm looking at him. I'm like, man, I should just kill him. You know what I'm saying? But then I said, nah, I can't just kill him. He didn't do anything to me. And this is weird. People say, oh, it's just a bug. You need to crush that bug. This and that. But I think life is life. And I looked at him. I said, just because I'm scared of him, doesn't give me the right to kill him. And he might be approaching me, just like, oh, man, look at this cool thing over here. You know what I'm saying? And mainly, I'm 10,000 times bigger than him. So I can't kill him out of fear.
Right.
So I said, okay, Jermaine, you got to get some guts up and go over and deal with him appropriately. So I went and grabbed my samurai sword the short one.
Uh-oh.
And I grabbed the short one, and I went over to him, and I put the blade down. He kept walking towards me. But then when I put the blade down, because I just wanted him to get on the blade, and I was going to carry him off, because I still didn't know what that sticker did. You know, even though I'm not afraid, I didn't need to get bit, and I got a swollen hand, now I can't train and stuff like that, so I still had to be smart.
Right.
So I put the blade in my sword down, and he turned away, walked away. And then I got in front of him, put the blade, and he turned away and walked away. And then I put the blade from him, he turned away. I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to, you know, so I said, hey, look. And I said, you know, and I do this. I said, hey, look, man, my name's Jermaine, and you can't be in here. And I want to give you something. You know, the only thing I can give you is a chance. I know it's cold outside, but you got to go, partner. You can't be in here. And I don't want to have to kill you. So all I'm trying to do is get you on this blade. I'm going to put you outside. And then I walked back in front of him, and he climbed on the blade.
Wow.
As if he heard me and listened to me, you know. And so I ran as fast as I could with him on the edge of that blade, you know, trying to keep cool.
Because he did it. You're like, it worked.
Yep. And well, he was still close to me. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't want him to jump on my face, you know, and then I wasn't that cool with him yet, you know. So I got him to the door, and I just threw him outside in the trees, you know, just that was it. But that's the whole thing is I think when it comes to our fears, we all have fear. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we as mankind make is we try to teach ourselves not to be afraid of things rather than how to control ourselves when we're afraid.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, you don't need to be afraid of this. You don't need to be afraid of that. But when we're afraid, look at what our body and our mind does. You know, adrenaline rushes. We become more alert. Our eyes widen so we can see more. You know, all of our senses, you know, we gain superpower, super strength. You know, you can scare somebody and your power goes through the roof. So all of these good things happen when we're afraid. So I think if we learn what we're afraid of and then learn how to control ourselves when we're afraid, we can find the power in it. It's just like you say when you have the snake dreams, you don't just say, oh, I had these horrible dreams, you know, and go to a doctor and get medicated so you don't have bad dreams. You say, what is my dream trying to tell me? It's telling me something. These snakes, I saw snakes again, you know, in my dream, and it scared me. So I need to check my life to see if there are snakes in my life.
Right.
And I think if we learn how to use fear like that, it'll really, really, you know, help us out. So, but that was one of my fears was bugs. And you know, this is something funny too. You know what my main fear is that I really fear all the time is that I'm gonna stop talking one day.
Ooh.
That I'm gonna really get tired of talking. You know, I know it really scares me because I have a lot of, you know, really, I guess you could say strange ways of seeing things.
Yes,
I
you
think
do.
my power is I can see things that other people can't see in ways they don't. But I think it's just getting to a point where I'm actually going to get tired of talking, or I'm going to become dumb to my way of thinking, you know, and then it's just going to be over. So that's like one of my biggest fears right there is that, man, you know, one day I might become a monk, because the fear is monks become monks because they figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They give up everything in life in their life because they figure something out that shows
That
that
no
I
one
don't need
else does.
that I don't need clothes, I don't need this, I don't need money, I don't need cars, I don't need a house. I'm gonna go live on a mountain and meditate and pray all day. And so sometimes I say, well, that's kind of a fear for me. I don't, you know, I enjoy people, but am I getting that close to the mastery of the martial arts? Am I about to start levitating and floating and float away? You know,
So we need to do a lot of podcasts before that happens.
Exactly. and then you need to make sure you got contract signed so you get all the money, because I'm gonna be like, I don't need money. You know, I'll be floating off somewhere. In the iceberg, open that, pop.
All right.
What Rebecca's looking at here is the book Ice, Inner Calm and Explosiveness, and she's gonna go to the chapter on fear, and even the title is gonna kind of stun everybody. The funny part, Ice was actually written. I had a diversity training company that goes to businesses and teaches them, you know, about sexism, racism, things like that, how to treat people fair. And we're actually trying to work their way into the NFL because of all the issues they were having with football players and, you know, baseball players and basketball players getting all this money and not knowing how to act off the court. And I kind of let
This
them know.
is professional too, right?
Yes, this is professional.
Right.
Yeah, this is professional. You know, I know they had the incident where one of the players, and I'm not going to say names, one of the players smacked his girlfriend, knocked her out, you know, in a casino. Another one, they getting caught driving drunk, and even a coach was getting caught driving drunk, you know, for had 7 DUIs. And so they were saying that they don't receive any training in how to behave, you know, with etiquette off of the field. And so they came and got me and said, well, Jermaine, you know, you are this MMA cage fighting world champion and Hall of Famer, the world champion, you know, you travel the world and you knock people's heads off, but You know, you act right on the streets. You're polite, this and that. You're respectful. You know, we want to bring you in to start training these individuals, you know, training these athletes like that and help them to understand. So when I wrote ICE, you know, one of the things I explained to them is I said, well, there has to be always a balance, because when you're an athlete, you're taught to kill and sacrifice your body. Right. And that's the thing. The coach's, his job is to pump you up, get you wired, and you go out there and you destroy. That's it. And then his job's done. And well, now they want the coaches to be held accountable for what they do in their lifestyle. And you can't. These are grown men. Right. You know, they can do whatever they want. You know, they ain't no different than, you know, you go to work and do your job. Your boss can't tell you what to do at home, and he shouldn't be held responsible for it. So let's say, but there has to be a powerful source that trains them that they can respect and look up to, you know, because they multimillionaires. They don't have to, you know, they don't have to do nothing. They can do whatever they want, just like anybody else. I mean, you know, just like when somebody becomes a multiple millionaire off of a computer design or something, they don't tell him that he has to have training in behavior, you know, to go along with that. So why are we pointing a finger at them? Now, of course, they're saying, well, these are celebrities and they're role models and this and that. But honestly, they choose to be role models. They don't have to. Right. You know, they get paid for what they do on the field. They don't get paid to be a role model, because I'm sure if somebody was to say, here's an extra $10 million signing bonus to be a role model, they'll say, all right, cool. Hey, how you want me to behave? You know what I'm saying? Story. Right. They just get trained to destroy. That's it. And I know, because I was a fighter, you know, but the difference between a martial artist as a fighter and my training was I also got trained in, you know,
your personal life.
Right. In etiquette and respect, loyalty, you know, calmness. So when I wrote ICE, inner calm and explosiveness, that's who I was speaking to. It was all the athletes out there, including fighters, MMA fighters nowadays, and teaching them that ICE, inner calmness, is being, you know, you have to have calmness and you have to have explosiveness. You know, times where you can keep yourself cool, and that switch that you can turn on and off to explode in life when you need to, whether it's getting ready to go for that promotion, you know, and you can't be timid because he get ready to try and get it too. And you go in there and your presentation all week, yeah, well, I was, you know, and if we did, you got to go in there, boom, strong, and man, we're going to this and that, da. That's explosive. It don't always have to be, you know, tackling somebody on the football field. So
you're not just talking to athletes. You're talking to everyday people in their everyday life. Everyday
people, because they say everybody's in a life fight. Okay. And that's what ICE deals with, you know, with handling your life. You got to be able to be calm. You got to be able to be explosive. But go ahead and look at the chapter right here. Rebecca's looking at the chapter.
All right. So let's explain ICE a little more.
All right, now, and this is the cool part is when the title I chose, ICE. Now, this is how I came with the name. First of all, when I used to fight, my opponents always told me that I was like ice. They say, Jermaine, we would look over at you, and you like ice, you know, because and ice meaning in that using that kind of metaphor means somebody who's still, non-moving, calm, you know, just focused. You like ice, smooth, solid, you know. And they would always say that, man, you just look like there's nothing anybody could do to you to stop your mission. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's pretty much what the deal was, you know. And so when I used the word ice, that's where it came from. First, a nickname that my opponents gave to me. You know, a word that they used to describe my spirit when I was in the cage about to do battle. And so then I said, well, ICE, I like that, you know, and I wanted to come up with an acronym, which I guess it was sent to me. And I said, first of all, ICE, I means inner. Everything has to come from inside you. Just like I say, with being honest with yourself, you have to know who you are first before you can become anything outside of yourself. Right. So knowing who you are inside and being true to yourself and building a solid foundation inside yourself on honesty of your strengths and your weaknesses, you know, and your intentions, that's the beginning of it all. And then C is calmness. Calmness is such a powerful, you know, power. I guess,
yeah.
You know, I don't have many big college words, but it's such a great power that people miss. Yeah. Because the first thing I always say, when you're calm, number one, it stops you from doing something stupid.
Yeah, you see things.
Yep. Number two, let me give away my stuff.
Oh,
Number
sorry.
two, did you read the book?
Yes, I did.
Number two, you can see things that other people miss. People who aren't being calm, they're panicking and moving. And you see all these answers. Whoa, I'm just going to go this way. You know, y'all keep on running around like you're crazy. Just like if the building was to get on fire and everybody's like, running around like they're crazy, the person that stays calm is going to see that, well, that window is wide open. Yeah. You know, right through the smoke. They're going to see that there's light and see that they're going to see these little red lights driving past. Say, well, that's car lights. That's tail lights of a car. So that window must be busted out. I'm going that way. Right. Where everybody else going, blah, 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 you know, right. Running around like they're crazy. So there's so much power in calmness. And the other thing that calmness does is it gives the appearance that you're in control, which shuts down just about everybody surrounding you. And that was like the main thing, you know, like with my opponents, you know, when I went to fight, you know, I was always had fear in me. A lot of people say, well, are you afraid of this and that, da, da, da. You know, of course, because I'm dealing with a man, you know, who's equal to me. These dudes ain't no joke. I'm not, I never was some, you know, this wasn't, you know, I wasn't Superman fighting a bunch of, you know, humans from planet Earth. You know, these were dudes that could fight and could hit and everything like I could. But when I was calm, it made them think he knows something I don't know.
Yeah.
He knows something I don't know. He gonna put it on me. So it makes them hesitate, which allowed me an opportunity. You know, and the other thing that I tell people calmness does is it slows down time. And that's something when you really learn to understand, and that's something that we as fighters learn. And I teach that to athletes. I train a lot of the football players, and they're rushing because they talk hustle, go. And I tell them you need to calm down, and you're going to see a lot more. And when I start getting them to calm down and move smooth, they can see all this stuff happening, all these things. So it's like you develop this power to slow time down. That's why you watch fighters, boxers, kickboxers, MMA fighters. When we go and you see all these punches come and nobody gets hit, and we all block it, and then we back out, we shake it off. You're like, how did they even? But we saw all that. It was like, you know, it's like Matrix for us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, we like, and we're seeing it. So that calmness is the biggest power, you know, that I always like try to get people to understand. And then the E is explosiveness. That's something, like I said, we have to have in life. We have to be willing and ready to boom at that moment whenever we need to. You know, we got to be willing and ready. When it's time to go, you go. You know, you don't stop. You don't hesitate. You don't let anything stop you. You know, the calmness allows you to set it up. Right. You know, because when you calm, you're looking for the right opportunity. And then when it presents itself, you know, you're ready, and pow, you explode, and anything that's in your way, you just blow it right out of the way.
So they all go hand in hand with each other. They all
need
each other.
In that order, ICE. You know, enter first, and then you have to have the calmness so you can get set. And then the explosive is when the opportunity presents itself. Boom, you take it without thinking about it. Okay. So go ahead and turn to what's the name of the chapter?
All right, the name of the chapter is Befriending Fear. That's a weird name.
Befriending Fear.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead, go to it. You might be able to pick something out of there. When I say befriending fear, that's kind of weird because, like I say, I'm trying to deliver the message just through that title that goes against what we're taught. Because we're not taught to befriend fear, we're taught to run from it. You know, whenever you're afraid, what do? It's just like a kid. You know, you could say, we had, you know, our kids were sparring the other day. Our kids will get ready for Honor Before Glory. And one of the little girls, she's 10, and she said, I'm afraid. Yeah. Because I put her in the middle and she had to go against 10 people. you know,
and they were all big boys too.
Yeah, and some of them were, 12-year-old boys weighing 130, 140 pounds, and she weighs probably 70 pounds, 60. Yeah. And she put her and she said, I'm afraid. What does somebody usually say when somebody say I'm afraid? Oh, don't be afraid. You know, I said, it's okay that you're afraid. You have to do it anyway. And when I said that, she looked at me and she clicked and she said, yes, sir. You know, and she got it. Instead of me saying, oh, don't be afraid. That's not realistic. She get ready to go against these beasts. You know, these guys who are 3 times bigger than her, 3 times stronger. She know she probably is not going to win. That's what's going to happen. But I'm getting her to not be afraid of that. Right. You know, so I told her, it's not that you don't be afraid, but you have to do it anyway while you're afraid. Right. So then she went in and she did great and she fought great. So when I say befriending fear, I'm trying to get everybody to understand that don't be afraid of fear. When fear comes knocking on the door, expect it to come. It's going to come someday. Be ready for it, and then be ready to respond properly, effectively, and in a way that's going to be productive for you. And that's why I named that section Befriending Fear, which is a great title for today's show since we're talking about fear anyway. Now everybody knows their fears, so we're going to talk about how you can befriend fear. Now, befriending fear doesn't mean befriending what you're afraid of. Okay, so like me being afraid of bugs, and I'm not really super afraid of them. I'm just saying that's one of my fears.
You already told us now.
Yeah, I'm busting myself. Now I got to go back to being honest with myself. See what happens? That's how easy you get pulled away from things, you know. But befriending fear doesn't mean I need to go and learn how to not be afraid of, you know, a giant spider, get a big tarantula or a brown recluse or a black widow and put it in my hand and learn not to be afraid of it. I can do that. You can take a spider and put it on my face and I can sit there and not give a response and I can be ice, you know, with no problem. You say, wow, he's not afraid of that. While inside I'm shaking and this little kid running around in my chest screaming for mommy. But you will never know that because I can hold my composure. When I'm afraid, I know how to control myself when I'm afraid. So the way you befriend fear is you have to start playing with your fears. And start finding things that you're afraid of, different things, and go and play with it. Like I'd say, if I'm afraid of, let's say, spiders, then what I want to do is get a non-poisonous spider that's not going to kill me if it bites me, maybe throw it in a jar, and start playing with it, putting it close to me, and get to the point where I can put it on my hand. And what's going to happen when I put them on my hand, my heart rate's going to speed up, my breathing's going, and I'm going to shake them off and throw them on my daughter's face instead of leaving it on my hand. So what I have to do is notice what my body is doing. All right, my breathing's picking up, my heart, calm myself down, bring my breathing down. Look at the spider, study him, and try to trust him and trust what he's doing and understand it and control myself when I'm afraid. And then once I learn not to be afraid of spiders, that doesn't mean that I've conquered fear.
Right.
Now I got to go to the next thing, because there's always going to be stuff you can be afraid of. Even if it's a truck coming down the highway with the lights flashing and he slams that horn and you get scared, you got to make sure you don't seize up and not steer out the way. You got to make sure you control yourself and do what you have to do. So that would be a good thing to do to start befriending fear, is to start finding your fears and safely toy with them. If you're afraid of heights, don't go stand at the edge of the top of a building, and, get dizzy and fall off or something like that. But there are ways you can go maybe into an elevator with a glass window that looks outside and ride all the way to the top and stand and look. And as you feel yourself getting afraid about the panic, slow your breathing down. Calm yourself down. Try to slow your heart rate down. If your hands are shaking, try to stop your hands from shaking. Try to do something while you're there. Pick up a pen and paper and try to write a sentence. See if you can focus while you're afraid. And that's a good way to kind of practice befriending fear.
Good tips. So those are our own personal fears. But for one, it says in your book, we are taught to be afraid of being afraid by society's everyday values. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I can. I don't want to get, shut off the show on our second show.
Oh, just go for it. Just go for it.
All right. And this is actually some fear that we're taught in society where it's necessary. What's the biggest fear that everyone has in society that helps society to function? Going to jail and death. All right. So you're taught to fear the police. You're taught to fear prison. You're taught to fear all of these things so laws can be made to keep everybody under control. And when I say that, that doesn't mean the fears aren't necessary, because I'm a person who believes in law. You know what I'm saying? Because a lawless man is the worst animal in the world. And I use that quote in my book. But that's the worst thing in the world is mankind without law. So we need law, but we still need to understand that we're taught to be afraid and to stop when we're afraid. It's an everyday thing. It's just like, do you have to stop at a stop sign? No. Do you have to stop at a red light? No. Why do you stop at a stop sign, stop at a red light? Most people, why? Because I don't want to get a ticket. Right. Not because I don't want to hit somebody. You find somebody that drives and they stop at stop signs and ask them, why do you stop at stop signs? They're not going to say, well, I don't want to hit anyone. They're going to say, well, I don't want to get a ticket. I don't want to go to jail. That's what it turns to. So that's what keeps people under control when someone gets mad. And this son of a really deserves to get punched in his face, because his mouth and everything else, why don't you punch him in his face? Because I don't want to go to jail. Yeah. So we're taught that when we're afraid to shut down, and that can become a subconscious response, especially when it comes to taking steps in life, when it comes to sports. I have to spend a lot of time with that in training my fighters and working against that when they become afraid, they shut down. But then right after that, after I teach them how to push through that when you're afraid, you explode, you turn it on. It's an opposite switch. Now I got to tell them, because what do we do at the end of class? What I tell everybody calm your fighting spirit. Yeah. Where you get ready to go into the real world, you cannot respond the way that I've been training you to respond. And here, that's for self-defense purposes, for my guys, for competition, and stuff like that. So you still have to have the intelligence on when to turn it on and when to turn it off. Right. But that's how society teaches us to be afraid and to shut down and not work through our fears.
Second one says, from your book, we are rarely taught how to control ourselves when we are afraid. We are only taught not to be afraid of certain things.
Well, that kind of goes back hand in hand with what I said, like with the little girl, who said, I'm afraid. And if you think about it, there are no classes in school or in college on, what to do when you're afraid. Not that I've seen or heard. Right. I'm sure that there's tons of, and there may be something that exists, but not on a level that is promoted so strongly that Americans, we all know that I'm telling my daughter, right, or that I'm telling my daughter, hey, you need to take this class on how to respond when you're afraid. You know, it's not out there.
Right.
It's just the thing of don't be afraid. You can't be afraid to get out into the world and go out there and take and dive in. That's all that ever happens. Don't be afraid. So then you learn not to be afraid of getting out into the world and taking a dive into business or into whatever it is you is the workplace. But that's the only thing you learn. You still don't learn about controlling those fears. What about the fear of when this dude breaks in your house in the middle of the night, you hear a crash and you hear somebody creep, you look downstairs, you see this dude in a ski mask and your husband's gone, you know, away, and it's just you and him and the kids in the back room.
Yeah.
What about that fear? Yeah. Now what do? That's not, you know, and that's where I say people have to know how to control themselves, because if you've practiced controlling yourself when you're afraid, then of course you're going to be afraid, but then you're going to calm yourself down. It's going to buy time. Boom. Your brain's going to kick in. You're going to start thinking, you know, okay, well, what can I do? This is what I need to do. This is the next step I need to make. This is where I need to go.
So is this something that you'd like to see in the school systems?
In regards to teaching people how to respond when they're afraid?
Self-defense, awareness. Yeah, everything.
Yes.
Okay.
If people learn how to respond better to their fears, I think it would stop more problems in the world, especially with relationships, with people, people dealing with each other. Because I think most of the times when we deal with each other on an ignorant level, it's because we become afraid. Everything that usually happens, you know, I mean, wars and stuff like that is mainly out of fear. You know, and when people are afraid, that's what you do. You respond violently. Right. You know, the next thing, you go into self-preservation. You know, I'm afraid, boom. You know, I don't know what to do. Boom, boom, respond back. You know, it's attack, you know, fight or flight. You're either going to run or you got to fight. So I think that if they taught people to understand themselves when they're afraid and how to calm themselves down, then that opens a whole new world of avenues, a whole new world of paths that they can take besides fight or flight when we're afraid. Because that's the only path when you're afraid is fight or flight. So
I don't know if you explained it in your book or not, Jermaine, but is it always a conscious choice, or how do you figure out, you know, how do you get yourself to that point to calm yourself down? Is it something that you always have to think about, or does it just happen naturally eventually?
So you're saying, like, can you prepare
yourself?
Okay, like, you got, let's say, you go to work and your boss is just on you and he thrives off of making you afraid. You know, and a lot of bosses are like that. They get off on everybody being afraid of them. And when I say a lot, I'm not, you know, cracking at bosses because I'm a boss, you know, but there are some who are like that, and that affects people because they're counting on that job for their life. So every day they have to come to work afraid and stressed out. Now, what you have to do and what you can do, which is what I use, is meditation. Meditation is a way of preparing. The mind doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. And most of the stuff that we fear it because it's a surprise.
Oh, it's a surprise.
Because the mind is not familiar with it.
Okay.
Just like if every day I went home, let's say, you know, like I don't like spiders. Every day I went home, there was a spider on the table greeting me. Every single day I'd get familiar with him and there would be no more fear towards him. I'd get used to him. You know what I'm saying? So when you meditate, let's say your boss, you know, because I actually had a situation with this, and this was actually a very high-ranked individual in the military, and he was about to lose it. I mean, very high rank. And he called me up and he said, man, I'm about to lose it. I'm going to go psycho. I can't take this. I got this new boss. She's this and that. She blah, 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 this and that. And I said, okay, check this. This is what you need to do before you lose it, you know, and go crazy. I want you to go into your mind and think about what she does that makes you upset. And then meditate on that happening and on you responding and not being afraid about it, and find an appropriate response and that you're going to make that response. Okay. And that's the way that you can get yourself set for a certain situation of not responding, like you said, having to take that initial shock of fear and having to calm yourself down. Because I used to use that fight. One of my tricks in the fight game was, and I give it up in the book, so I guess I'll give it up here. In the fight game was that most people, what do they say? You know, you have to see yourself winning and you'll win. Well, I'm a realist. You know, I don't know if that's the right word I want to use myself, but I'm real with myself.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm real with myself. And this is what I used to say, you know, okay, what if he sees himself winning too? Then who gonna win? That's what's real, you know, because that's what it is. Everything, I always felt like a lot of things were just so shallow. You know, you're just saying something to me to pump me up. I don't want to, come on, dude. What if he sees himself winning too? Who's going to win? You know, oh, just shut up. You know, that's why I got in trouble a lot, because I get smacked around, you know, because they say I was too smart for my own good. But what I would always do in a fight was I would see myself losing. So what I did, I'd meditate on losing. I meditate on getting beat up, meditate on getting knocked around, I meditate that my pants got pulled down and everybody's laughing at me in the audience and it's an embarrassment and I don't care.
Okay.
So anything that happened to me in the fight was not a shock to my brain because my brain was familiar with it because it doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. It's just like training police officers. They go through, a military and, DEA agents. They go through kick-ins over and 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 over. Do it 10. We need to see. Need you guys to do this 500 times, kicking in this door and firing these shots and shots coming at you. So when they go kick in the door against, the enemy who hasn't done that, the enemy goes, they get shocked. Their hands are shaking. They shoot crooked. And guess how they do it? They shoot straight because the mind thinks, man, we've done this 500 times.
Right.
And it doesn't know the difference. So that's something you could do. If you have something that you really fear that's really affecting your life, you need to sit and think on it. Meditation is just deep thought.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What's different forms of meditation for different types of people?
But there's a lot of different types, controlling your body with breathing. As far as meditation for what we're talking about is deep thought.
Deep thought. Okay.
And preparing yourself. It's called visualization is the word you'll use. Like I said, I would visualize getting punched in the face. I would visualize getting dropped and everybody laughing at me. I would visualize my opponent on me smack. I would visualize my opponent, me grabbing him and him overpowering me and throwing me. I would visualize. So what would happen? I visualize all this happening. Then I say, okay, if this happens to me, what am I going to do? And then I visualize my escapes and my route. So then what would happen? I go in and just like when I fought against Ron June and we came in at WFA Las Vegas. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm shrugging the shoulders, looking good. The bell rang, ding. We come at each other. We moving, showing footwork. And I step back and did a little fancy move. Make sure the cameraman get it, so I can look good on TV. Moved in slow. He's backing away. I'm feeling he's a little afraid. And boom, he threw a right hand that reminded me of who he was and why he was called the machine gun. And it hit me, boom, and stunned me. And he got me to the ground. He's pounding me in the head, pow, pow, pounding me in the head. And you can look at the camera and you look at my face and I look like nothing. I'm looking like I almost yawned. I'm just like, because I saw this already. This was nothing new to me.
That was your scenario.
Hey, Ron June already meditated that you was super bad. So he's sitting there thinking, expecting something to happen and it ain't happening. So you expected a reaction from me that you didn't get. That's the 1/10 of a second I need to do this. And I had my move and I flipped the whole fight just like that. So when you let that mind operate like that and meditate and familiarize yourself with that, that situation, then that's what happens. That can help you. That's a good way to work through it.
So, Jermaine, how do you pick the scenarios when it comes to this meditation?
It'd be beautiful if I've had, like, let's say, for a fight, if I've got the actual layout of the arena, I've got the actual cage, I've got my actual opponent. But what I do is I take pieces and parts of what I know. I've got a picture of my opponent. Like anytime I'm getting ready for competition, my opponent's picture is in my bathroom on the mirror. It's in, on the dashboard of my car. It's in my bedroom. So I'm looking at him, and that's all I'm thinking about is him. His face is not going to be new to me. When I see it, it's going to be, I know you. We're married. We're buddies. So I'm cool and calm with you as I try to destroy you, for the fight, for competition. The main thing is, because like if you say, let's say it's a situation where I don't know where I'm going. And I don't know the surroundings, the terrain. What I'm meditating off is my personal response to when something happens to me. So what I'll say is, what can happen to me? Like, all right, here's the fight. Like when I went to Japan. Never been to Japan. Didn't know what I was getting involved in. I said, okay, I can show up and the plane can be late. I can get stranded at the airport. I could walk out to the fight and go the wrong way to the cage. I've had that happen before. I can get there and not have food that I need. When I go in, I can get punched in the face. I can get thrown and slammed on the ground. A submission can get put on me. I can get kicked. I can get knee. So everything that has been happening before that can affect me in a negative manner, I just use that all at once. And then I got it loaded up because even no matter where I'm at, it's still the same stuff that can happen to me. It's just like, okay, man, my boss drives me crazy and I'm going to kill that mother. You don't know how he's going to come at you tomorrow. It might be about something different, about this work, where you got moved your desk to, about you taking too long a lunch. You don't know exactly what the situation is going to be, but he's going to come at you and you're going to respond and feel this certain way. So now you focus on how you feel. And that's why I go again about getting to know yourself. Instead of being so concerned about him, you're concerned about your response and your reaction. And then on the drive home, here's this dude that always cuts you off. Y'all just happen to leave work at the same time and you're going to bust his head one day and you're tired of it, and you got your CCW on the seat and you might just take a shot today. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same thing. He cuts you off. He just put you in the same frame of mind that your boss does when he yelled at you for taking a 10-minute lunch when you only took 8 minutes, you know. And so as long as you look at it like that, okay, if I'm not totally familiar with the surroundings, the area that I'm going to be in when this happens, I am familiar with what I'm going to feel like when I respond when I'm afraid.
So we know the positive is good, Jermaine. Can any of the negative ever backfire on us?
Like using the type of negative visualization that this bad thing can happen to me.
Right.
It can. And you know where it can backfire on you? If you get too comfortable with the negativity. And that can happen. And I've had that happen to me even in a fight where I got so comfortable with taking a butt with it that you don't fight back. You know, because now it's not a shock to the mind. Because remember what I said, fear is still power. When we're afraid, boom, we get more alert, we get energy, we get strong. So there is a danger. That's why you always have to have balance. You can't go too far either way. You know, you go too far positive and it's called underestimating someone. You go too far negative, it's called overestimating. So in being arrogant, you know, and then being meek. So it's still a balance. My trick it's not that one was better than the other, actually. It's just that the one that I use, nobody uses. It's just like us getting in a boxing match and I say, okay, we're going to do a fight. And you say, hey, I'm in, and you know how to box. And this is going to be kickboxing, and you've never thrown kicks before. And I'm going to throw kicks. Now, you could be just as good to me if you would have trained, but you don't know about kicks. So I start kicking you. You don't even know what's coming. So my strategy that I use, everybody else saw themselves winning. You know, I saw when I was losing. So then they would think they were winning, and then they would get that swell, and everything feel good, and all their energy would come, and they would explode. And then after their energy exploded and nothing happened to me, then that's when I took advantage of the situation. But yeah, that's where it can go bad, is you can get too comfortable with allowing negative things to happen. And then next thing you know, you will lose.
All right. So there is such thing as a healthy fear. Can you talk about befriending our healthy fears?
Healthy fears would be fears that save your butt. You know what I'm saying? So we can't be stupid.
Okay.
Like, don't stick your hand in a running garbage disposal. That's a good fear. You know, when it goes, it's probably good to go and pull your hand back instead of keep looking, oh, man, I ain't scared of this, you know, or use my strategy. Oh, I see negativity. I see my fingers getting cut off and I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's unhealthy. So that's where it goes again, that we have to have the balance to make the right decisions at the right time. You know, looking both ways before you cross the street. We see that every day, especially in St. Louis, where people just walk out like they tougher than a car. And, you know, you're not tougher than a car. You have to be afraid of this 3,000-pound machine moving at 50 miles an hour. It will destroy and crush your body, no matter how tough you think you are. So those are the healthy fears. They help to keep us, you know, and that's why fear, we have such a strong instinct when we're afraid. And when we're afraid, our body responds with superpowers. You know, super vision, super. You take that deep breath, all that oxygen goes to your muscles, so you can make an immediate explosion to save yourself at that moment. So you still want to have that, and that goes back again, like you were saying, with the negative. If I start getting too cool, you know, and we're actually going to read in my book, because I'm going to say this, you know, to end it with, everybody's like this. I've done some stupid things to hone myself as a fighter. Now, they're stupid in today's world, and I would never recommend anybody do. I mean, when we get to my book, Muay Tiger, you're going to see it. But one of them was actually standing in traffic with my eyes closed to control my fears. Now, that was the dumbest thing in the world I could have did. But as far as what I was trying to build myself into as a fighter, it made me super samurai, because samurai was not afraid of death. So I was trying to prove it to myself. Now, I do not recommend do this at home. I recommend for anybody, anything, you know what I'm saying? But everybody's not who I am. And as everybody learns more about me, they're going to see that. And I had to walk. And I'll say, I won't say I had to, but I'll say I walked a hard path to get the right answers. So I got a lot of answers because of that, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to try this at home. You know, it's just like the guy who jumps the dirt bike and does all the flips. He's taking a chance of breaking his neck and killing himself, but that's for his craft. So you shouldn't watch that and say, man, I'm going to go do the same thing tomorrow, and go take your dirt bike and do it, because you're going to crack your head open, you know. So fear is healthy, you know, for those reasons like you were just asking. And there's reasons that is there to save us. So
this book, just about for everybody, where can we get this book at?
Yeah, it's definitely for everybody, anybody. You know, again, it goes along with your life fight, and that's what it was written for. But you can get it at my website, JermaineAndre.com. You know, we have it right there where you pick it up. Then, like I say, you definitely find me on Facebook, and you can always ask me anything there, and I can direct you to it.
Because your Facebook has you do a lot of blogging on the book, right?
Yeah, you can cheat. You know, because you go to my Facebook page, I got it where, you know, we put chapters up, and the people who own the book go in and put chapters and quotes up, so you can probably almost create the book from all the posts that we put on. So no, don't go to my Facebook page.
Don't go to your Facebook page.
No. Yeah, but you can go to Facebook page. But JermaineAndre.com is the actual place where you can go in. You can buy it and they'll mail it straight to your house and everything.
Okay.
So it's a good book. A good takeaway, that I like everybody to do. We said last time about being honest with yourself and figuring out your fears. And of course, I went over when I talked about how to start gaining control of yourself when you're afraid. So I say a good thing is for everybody to start doing. One of the things that we're afraid of that a lot of people don't know about is that people don't think about is being alone. And loneliness is something where you find a lot of power. And it is scary, and that could be a whole nother podcast, because if you're afraid of being by yourself, how you expect somebody else to want to be with you? You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. You can't stand being with yourself. How you expect somebody else to stand being with you? But that's a small fear that's really powerful that we don't even think about. So I would say to everybody, go to your bathroom and lock yourself in there just for 10, 15 minutes with nothing. And I'm not talking about when you have to use a bathroom or shower or anything.
Right.
I'm saying go in there, close the door, lock it, and stay in there by yourself. And let your mind wander. And see what happens. That's how powerful the mind is. The reason we're afraid of being alone is because our mind starts to wander. We start to think about things and start to open doors. So we want to stay distracted. I got to turn on the TV. How many times you go home, if you're alone, what do people do? Turn on the TV, turn on the radio. So it seems like somebody's there. You know why? Because they can't even stand letting their mind think on its own. Well, I don't like to think on my own because I get afraid. You get afraid of what? Because I start thinking somebody may be breaking in or something. So you're taught to even, we're taught to even be afraid to be by ourselves and allow our mind to operate without all these distractions and influences that go on around us. So I would say a good takeaway for everybody is just to, go in your bathroom when you're alone, lock the door, don't take anything in there, and just, sit on the edge of the tub or whatever, or stand there and just, you can look at your eyes in the mirror, look at yourself, and just let your mind wander and see what comes up. You might be surprised.
That's a good one.
All right, and that's it with Jermaine Andre's Life Fight. Thank you, everybody, for listening again. And, I really, really appreciate all the responses and positive feedback we're getting. And be sure to be here next time, because I promise, and I'm committed to assure that I'm always bringing you good, strong information, honest information that you can use out there in your life fight so you can win, because I want to see you win your life fight. Thanks again, Rebecca Beck, for being here to keep pushing me to be my best and, hit me with the questions that make me think.
Yeah.
And we'll see everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.
For all things Jermaine Andre, get books, get trained. Learn the secrets behind his brawn, his brain, and his edge. Visit JermaineAndre.com. Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.